They say it all begins in the Judengasse of Frankfurt, a narrow alleyway filled with the sounds of workshops and whispered prayers behind dim windows. It is there that a young Jewish goldsmith named Mayer Amschel Rothschild spends hours polishing metals, repairing gold coins, and observing the world of the powerful through the reflections of metal. They say he knew every nuance of gold the way a musician knows his instrument, and that one day a German prince, impressed by his skill, opened for him the doors of high-level financial commerce. This is how, according to legend, a dynasty was born, one that would stretch like a secret web across all of Europe. Mayer is said to have had an almost supernatural intuition to divide his 5 sons and send each of them to a different capital: Frankfurt, London, Paris, Vienna, Naples, to create what history calls the 5 arrows, a symbol forever linked to the family. People whisper that these sons, each gifted with a cold genius for numbers, communicated through coded letters, private couriers riding the fastest horses, and encrypted words only they could understand. This coordination allowed the family to be faster than governments themselves, to the point where rumors claim they knew the outcome of wars before the kings themselves officially received the news. And when people speak of the Rothschilds, their eyes naturally turn to these 5 sons whom Mayer had scattered across Europe like a silent army. Each one, it is said, carried a facet of their father: the patience of the goldsmith, the audacity of the negotiator, the rigor of the accountant, and that almost supernatural intuition for crises. Some historians even say that they were not just his sons, but the 5 pillars of an invisible empire. Amschel, who remained in Frankfurt, is often described as the keeper of the sacred flame. It is said he kept the first ledgers written by his father locked in a room, written with a quill dipped in brown ink that had survived decades. He would spend entire nights rereading the accounts as if the numbers could speak to him. According to popular anecdotes, he once refused a royal alliance because the signature on the contract showed an irregularity he disliked. Some say he knew by heart the name of every debtor and creditor in Europe, and that he never forgot anything. Salomon, sent to Vienna, is portrayed as the diplomat of the brothers. It is said he moved among Austrian aristocrats with almost unsettling ease. Rumors say he was secretly summoned by the emperor to resolve a financial crisis whose details no one ever learned. At an imperial ball, a duchess is said to have whispered that he danced as if he already knew the future. People claim he kept 2 unopened letters sent by rival monarchs, silent reminders of the power he held simply by refusing to intervene. Nathan, in London, remains the most famous. They say he spoke little but read everything: maritime reports, troop movements, market fluctuations, grain prices, even coffee house rumors in the city. According to legend, during the Battle of Waterloo, he learned of Wellington's victory long before anyone else thanks to his network of informants and carrier pigeons. It is said he bought British bonds at low prices while the public was still uncertain about the war's outcome. Some claim that in one bold move he acquired financial power greater than that of monarchs. Karl, in Naples, is the most mysterious. Stories describe him living in a villa surrounded by orange gardens, where the scent of blossoms mixed with fresh ink. He is said to have had privileged ties with the rulers of southern Italy, negotiating in the shadows arrangements whose true nature few ever discovered. During a popular uprising, legend claims he secretly protected several nobles while ensuring supplies reached besieged cities. A large map of the Mediterranean covered an entire wall of his office, dotted with color pins, marking trade routes he personally followed. James, in Paris, is depicted as the artist of the family, the most flamboyant, charming, and social. His dinners were famous, hosting writers, painters, bankers, and sometimes masked revolutionaries seeking support or silence. It is said he owned a Stradivarius violin that he would have played during secret soirees. Others claim he kept an entire room filled with artworks never shown to the public, gifted by painters seeking his protection. Rumors say he collected secrets the way others collected jewels. What fascinated contemporaries most was the sacred ritual that united the 5 brothers every year in Frankfurt, always in the same house, gathered around a large table with gold plaques engraved with their names. behind closed doors with no servants allowed. Some say they discussed markets, others claim they spoke of kings, and some insist they made decisions capable of influencing the fate of nations. Amschel always opened the reunion by placing on the table an old ledger written by their father, reminding them where all their power came from. It is said that during these gatherings each brother would bring a personal item symbolizing his domain. Nathan reportedly brought a collection of sealed letters and market notes from London, while James laid out miniature models of French estates and artistic commissions. Salomon placed maps of Vienna with pins marking financial and political contacts. Karl displayed detailed Mediterranean trade charts, and Amschel contributed rare coins and family records. These objects, combined with ritualized gestures, were rumored to serve as reminders of their achievements, allegiances, and secrets, creating an almost mystical atmosphere in which their decisions carried the weight of centuries. Some guests who managed to glimpse these reunions claimed they saw gestures of silent communication, coded glances, and subtle nods that determined vast financial movements across Europe without a word being spoken. In the European salons of the 19th century, the Rothschilds intrigued and fascinated. Their homes were described as a blend of absolute luxury and strict family rituals, codified meals, archives kept with obsessive precision, and marriages arranged strictly within the family. Dinners were said to gather princes, composers, and industrialists around a piano, some claiming they heard pieces composed exclusively for the family. Stories speak of celebrations where champagne flowed in fountains and guests lost themselves in private art galleries larger than museums. Some anecdotes describe James secretly arranging surprise performances by young composers whom he had supported financially. Others say Salomon hosted late-night discussions with European diplomats disguised as casual card games in which critical financial decisions were quietly agreed upon. Nathan was said to have kept a small, locked cabinet in the corner of his London residence where he stored private letters from monarchs and bankers, and that the simple act of opening it during a dinner could change allegiances or create temporary panic on financial markets. Karl, in Naples, reportedly staged elaborate masquerades that concealed meetings with political figures under the guise of entertainment, and some stories insist that the orange gardens surrounding his villa were used to send signals to ships and messengers arriving from distant ports. It is also said that Amschel maintained a small, secret chamber behind a bookshelf in Frankfurt, where the brothers would convene for the most delicate decisions, an archive containing handwritten contracts, family correspondence, and financial charts which, according to rumor, contained instructions for navigating the collapse of empires and the rise of new powers. The family's religion, rooted in Judaism, fueled prejudices. Some claimed they followed rituals rigorously, others said they were modernists. This ambiguity nourished myths, traditionalists to some, progressives to others, mystics for a few, pragmatists for many, a family onto which everyone projected their own beliefs or foes. Anecdotal stories persist that Nathan performed prayers in the early hours while reviewing market data, that James would recite psalms before commissioning a painting, and that Salomon and Karl sometimes exchanged Talmudic interpretations to resolve disputes over investments or territorial negotiations. The symbolism of candles, ancient ledgers, and ceremonial objects became intertwined with their public persona, creating an aura of both sacred obligation and strategic calculation that mystified competitors. As their influence expanded, the stories darkened. Tales claimed they financed exiled kings, protected crowns, calmed crises, and influenced treaties. People spoke of underground rooms filled with strong boxes, sealed correspondences, and secret decisions that supposedly prevented or ignited conflicts. According to anecdotal accounts, one of James' Parisian soirees allegedly involved a secret plan to stabilize the French government during a volatile period. While Nathan's London office was rumored to contain a map with tiny lights indicating troop movements and loan distributions across Europe, Karl in Naples allegedly orchestrated their discreet evacuation of a royal family member during a rebellion using trade ships as cover. and Salomon is said to have quietly redirected the course of Austrian finances to prevent a banking collapse that could have sparked continental instability. The art world saw them as supreme patrons, capable of offering a Stradivarius as casually as a bouquet of flowers, and stories persist of hidden collections of rare manuscripts, jewels, and artifacts displayed only for the family or select confidants. These private treasures became symbols not only of wealth but also of influence, knowledge, and secrecy.